Welcome to our pod, and by that I mean on Wednesdays we read. I'm Hannah.
I'm Laura.
And we are two best friends who do a deep dive into a new book series, one book at a time. Right now we are bum in the year of the Dresden.
The year of the Dresden.
We are covering the themes and characters of Deadbeat.
Deadbeat.
Our favorite Jim Butcher novel to date. So...
It's true. We never thought this would happen, but they're getting better.
We're fans.
What? Do we like a Jim Butcher book?
Weird.
Yes.
But Laura, before we get into it, what are you reading, watching, and or enjoying?
So I've been watching Conan O'Brien Must Go on HBO Max.
Okay.
What a fun show. Conan.
What's it about? I have no idea.
Oh, really? It's just like a travel show where Conan
Oh.
goes to these different countries that he's never been before.
Oh, that's
And
fun.
it's a little bit creepy because he drops in on fans who have called into his podcast, and he
Oh.
like shows up at their apartments and they're like in their pajamas, and he's like, "Hey, you said I could come visit you if I ever was in your country." And they're like, yeah. And so he'll just like come into their apartments, and then he's like, "What the heck? Clean this place up. Why do you not have any stuff in your kitchen? Like, what's going on here, my guy?" And all, and it's
Oh
just
my gosh.
bizarre and hilarious. And like when he was in Argentina, he met this guy who called into his podcast previously, and the guy is an artist, and he was like, "I want you to make a mural of the most famous people from Argentina." And it was Conan and the Pope, and I'm not remembering the name of the soccer player at the moment. He's
Okay.
like super popular, and I'm kicking myself that I can't remember his name. Oh, geez, Argentinian soccer player.
This is an official podcast.
Yes, it is. It is. Oh, Messi, Lionel Messi. So they had literally created a mural of Conan in the middle of like he was standing in the middle of the Pope,
Oh,
Pope
good.
Francis and Lionel Messi with his arms around either of them.
I like
And
it.
they put this up on the side of a building in Argentina. And it was the funniest thing I've ever seen because people were like walking by it and like looking, they're like, "What the heck? This is so weird." And he even goes to these countries where like most people do not know who he is, besides the fact that he is just like this tall ginger, and he's trying to interact with people and being Conan, which is unhinged.
Yes.
Just to just simplify it, Conan is a bit unhinged, and they don't know how to react to him. Where they're like, "What is the deal with this man?" And it's hilarious to see him go in all of his Conanness and try to interact with these people who don't know who he is and claim that he's trying to learn about their culture and stuff like that. But in his typical Conan fashion, he's just trying to get a laugh out of people and get a bit. So
Amazing. Yeah.
it's very, very funny. And we've been enjoying it a lot. We haven't watched all the episodes yet, but there was an episode where he went to Ireland and he was trying to like learn how to speak in Gaelic and stuff, and that was hilarious. And the Irish people did not have a lot of tolerance for Conan, honestly, and he is 100% Irish, and so I thought that was pretty funny actually. But yeah, it's a hilarious show. I would recommend it if you need a laugh and you're into like more of the, I don't know if you call this a documentary or a reality show. I'm not sure what it would be. A travel show.
Travel show, reality TV, I guess.
It's reality TV. I don't know if it's for sure documentary because there are pieces of history obviously that are mentioned, and like of course things about the people's culture and stuff is mentioned too. But it's very funny. And Conan, even though he's like incredibly unhinged in almost everything that he performs in, I still think that he seems like a really nice person. And
Yeah.
I think that he does probably a lot of nice things, and he just, he's doing it for the bit. If he has to rub hot sauce on his nipples during a Hot Ones episode, he will do it. If he has to roll around on the floor in an Irish deli, he will do it. And he does. So, yeah, he's hilarious. I love him. I also watched, and we will be doing an episode on this, so I will not talk much about it, but K-pop Demon Hunters. I'm obsessed.
I knew
I'm
you would be. I
obsessed.
mean, it was all over my TikTok, and so I was like, why don't we just cover it for the next TV Tuesday? I didn't even know it was a film until Laura was like, oh, that's an easy one. Like it's just like an hour and a half, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
it's a movie.
perfect. But you know what? You can watch it 50 times if you want
Yeah,
because it's
exactly.
so bingeable. But what a fun movie. I love it so much. And the vocals in this thing, like if you don't watch the movie because you're like, oh, this looks like it's for kids, at the very least, you need to go and listen to the music because the singing in this is unreal.
Oh,
Some of the
good.
singers are so phenomenal. And I've listened to on YouTube now, after watching the movie, a couple of like vocal coach reacts, and
Mm-hmm.
they are all very impressed by this lead singer
Oh,
who
good.
is the voice of the character Rumi in the show. And she's phenomenal. It's amazing. But specifically, like the song Golden is great. I love it. But all of them are fun. So yeah, highly
Good.
recommend that and be looking out for our new episode
Ugh,
because
coming
that
out
will,
in August, everyone.
yeah, that will be so much fun. And then I've been reading Jujutsu Kaisen,
Yes, you
more of
have
that.
been.
Lots of Jujutsu Kaisen. I know this is like a very popular anime and manga series at the moment, but I feel like it's still like not hyped up enough
Hmm.
because I think it handles a lot of like really deep themes when it comes to like power and yielding power or wielding power and also just like death and loneliness. And I think that it's just a really great series. I wish more people would give manga and graphic novels a chance because there are
Yeah.
so many themes. I was thinking back to like, because as I'm getting deeper in the series, it is getting a lot deeper. And I think that that's something with manga in particular. You have to read several volumes in.
Yeah.
Honestly, you have to get like 4 or 5 volumes in before things start to like actually gain some momentum, honestly. But I was thinking back to like when I was reading Vinland Saga earlier this year, and I was like, what a fantastic series Vinland Saga is, and how many important themes of redemption and loss and just, like colonialism and power and everything. And
Hmm.
these are presented in a way that they're more accessible for readers. And I just really appreciate these mediums. So yeah, Jujutsu Kaisen has been top tier. Love it. I've been collecting all of them too, and I like seeing them on my shelf. They look
You have been collecting them. I noticed that
so
because I think
beautiful.
originally you told me you read them from the library,
Yeah,
and I have a
I couldn't
very
get them
good.
all from the library, so I gave up on that and I just started collecting them.
Okay, I have a very good view of Laura's bookshelves, and I remember her complaining about the library, and then they slowly just kept getting added to behind her, and I was
Yeah.
like, I guess she's buying them.
Yeah.
So,
So no offense to Libby, but I was only able to get like a small portion of the volumes on Libby,
yeah,
and I wanted to keep reading, so I just started buying them because I wanted to read them and they were available to me. So
yeah,
I
why
was
not?
getting them at my local comic book store. So I've been collecting them, and this is a series like I see myself rereading or at least very much like appreciating having this collection to share with other people. So, Hannah, I'll bring like all the volumes to you and you
Oh,
can read all of
beautiful.
them. But yeah, I don't know that I'm going to be one of those people that collects like tons of manga series, but I think like certain ones like this one where I'm just very into it, I can see myself, collecting this one, maybe another one if it really hits me the right way. But yeah, so I've been reading that. And then last week you talked about Nevo's Singing Hill series, and
Yes.
I didn't know if you were like surprised that I knew like some of the characters' names or not, but it was because I had read the first novella, The Empress of Salt and Fortune, which follows Cleric She, who is going and telling stories about the Empress
Hmm.
of
Salt and Fortune.
the Empress of Salt and Fortune, from like an imperial China. So we are both holding up the book. Beautiful, beautiful cover. I just think it's a peaceful book and at the same
Yeah.
time, like really powerful. And I don't know if that's the best way to describe it, but it's a very good balance between like learning the history of someone and the importance of a person while also like the value of storytelling.
Yeah,
And I really
that's a
appreciate it.
that's a huge theme in like all these books. It's just like the
Mhm.
importance of storytelling and remembering history and how history can change and be like adjusted by people. And yeah, Nevo
And
is
obviously, I'm only
amazing.
one book in, but it feels like a really great way to lead into a lot of things to come.
Yes.
So I think that if this wasn't a novella series, if these were actual like full blown novels, I could see this being something where it's like this is like the first several chapters of the lead up to
Hmm.
big things happening. And I'm like, I really dig this way that the author, that Vo is like kind of just wading into a bigger plot that's forming.
Yep.
So it's been a great experience so far, and I'm going to start the next one soon. But it's nice to have a novella that's easy to consume like this and just very interesting to read. And
And it's a great time to start these, everyone, because we may or may
yes,
not be having Nevo on for her
what
upcoming novella in this series.
in
So
the
get
Singing
them
House
now.
series? What?
What? Hannah may be fangirling out and want to be best friends with her because she lives in my city, but
Oh my gosh, you should
whatever.
go. Well, when we attended that author event, we learned that the Milwaukee Library is one of the places where Nevo goes and writes. So you could just show up there and have a meet cute.
I think they call that stalking when it's on purpose on one person's
It happened.
head.
I'm positive it's happened in romance movies.
Oh yeah, it has happened in romance movies. Should it have, is the question.
I
So
mean, people are always needing new friends. So
I know.
you might need Bumble BFF, but Hannah's just going to show up at the Milwaukee
At all the
Library to
just
make
like
friends with Nevo.
rotating public libraries. Do you think she's at this one today?
Give it a shot. Who cares? Writing buddies are the best buddies.
They are the best buddies. I need to go back to my writing group. I haven't been in the longest time. So,
But Hannah, that's what I've been reading, watching, and or enjoying. I've also just been, enjoying time outside. And my husband and I yesterday we spent a lot of time outside, pick some flowers. That was fun. So
oh,
yeah. What
nice.
about you?
Well, we also went to our local farmers market, shop local, everyone, and we got flowers. I got one I got one $2 off because I solved a little riddle. Uh it was an eye for an eye, and I'd just been watching Academy, so I kept walking around going Iloga Froka. Um but I also have been looking at flowers recently. But for reading, I had it up and then I always have to look at what I read, even though it happened mere like a week ago before I usually share it on the podcast,
Brains.
and I just can't.
We're getting old. Can't
We are
remember
getting
things.
old. We're getting
I can't
so
remember
old.
Argentinian soccer players' names,
Yeah,
and I
I
can't remember
think,
what she read yesterday.
yeah.
It's the
Um,
same.
it's obviously the same exact thing. No, I read When Among Crows by Veronica Roth.
Ooh.
Um,
How was this?
I really liked it. I listened to it via audiobook, and it
Okay.
was very enjoyable as an audiobook. Quick turnaround, only 4.5 hours. Um,
So
but
novella. Okay.
it's a novella for sure, and it like is more Slavic folklore, which I don't think we get to read about very often, where they like have to
She's
go find.
Polish, right?
Yeah, and she like we have this man named Demeter, and he wants to go find Baba Yaga to help him kill someone. And there's also this woman who is like has this curse that she carries, and he finds her and they have to like try to help each other because he has this magical flower that will break her curse. But it only works for the next 48 hours. So she has to help him get to Baba
Hmm.
Yaga. And then there's another person who's helping them who has like this very specific power that's very Slavic and very interesting. And I'll let you guys read it to find out because it kind of gets developed overall. But I
Hmm.
really liked
Yeah,
this
don't
book.
spoil.
I thought it was really good. She usually has her books set in Chicago,
Hmm.
because
She's from
that's
Chicago.
the Divergent series, and then another book of hers I read that I can't remember the title of right now. But this is my second Veronica Roth book. I never read the full Divergent series. I remember when I was in law school, I read one in like during the afternoon at a library, and I got 200 pages in, and I was like, I think I'm done now. I just like never finished it. Mostly because it's YA and it just didn't hold my interest as much as law school
Hmm.
at the time. But I really liked this one. I thought it had interesting twists and turns. And it was just like overall really interesting. So I really think people should listen to it. I like it. It's like a darker fantasy novel and like novella, that's quick and brisk and has like different fantasy elements that I don't think we get to read about all the time because even though Baba Yaga and Slavic folklore is interesting to me, like very much so, I feel like I never get to read about it
Hmm.
outside of like there's one author who wrote one that I read like 2 years ago. But it's one that I'm more interested in. So if anyone has like Slavic folklore fantasy books that they want to recommend to me, definitely let me know
Yeah,
because
hop
I
on
have
that.
some interest in it. And then for other audiobook, I listened to King of Ashes by S.A. Cosby. This just came out and people are loving it online.
Hmm.
I really
Okay.
like S.A. Cosby's work.
This
I
is a
feel
thriller.
this is a thriller. S.A. Cosby mostly does thrillers. I really like his works though. I think they're interesting. He has like a I've said this before, but I do think it's like it hits the nail on the head. He's like old school thrillers, like early 2000s, late 90s kind of thrillers where like it's better. Oh, what's that famous writer's name who did the Maximum Drive novels? I'm getting so old, guys.
Hannah is aging as we speak.
I'm just aging. Um, by oh my gosh, who is this? Uh,
I could not tell you because I do not know
James
a lot about
Patterson.
thrillers.
James
Oh, James
Patterson.
Patterson, how could
He's
you
like
forget?
he never I mean he doesn't write his own books anymore. He's just a
No,
name people slap
gosh,
on to
no.
be like, "Oh, look, it's a James Patterson novel." But
He's
I
always like co-authoring with celebrities, and it's like, who actually wrote this?
a ghostwriter. But S.A. Cosby is like a better James Patterson where it's like deeper storytelling. They are always like in like Virginia. He has one called like Jefferson Run, which is usually like the city that it's located in, and it usually has like
Hmm.
it's very old school, like looking at a place in society which is like rural America and the crime that can be there, the
Sure.
crime that's located there. Um, and he kind of just developed these stories that are really interesting coming out of there of like very dark characters or like
Hmm.
morally gray characters just trying to like live the life and like they want to have, but also trying to protect their
Being limited.
families and being limited. So this one follows a character who has to come back home after his dad was like run off the road. His name is Roman, and he works as like a financial advisor for like rappers and people who have like a quick like influx of cash and how to make sure that they get returns on investments for the rest of their lives. And he's really good at it. Well, he returns home, and his youngest brother Dante, they're like in this family who owns a crematorium, and so they're kind of well known as like richer people there. The parents worked really hard to open this crematorium. And the brother's kind of like this lackluster kid, like small man child, really, who doesn't really have a job. He kind of just floats on the dad's money. And he makes a really dangerous drug deal that goes sour. And now he owes like very big deal, like drug crime bosses, a lot of
Hmm.
money. And Roman gets brought into it to try to save his brother. And he kind of decides that he has to take them down.
Hmm.
And it's kind of all about this darkness. There's a huge family secret where the mom disappeared one day, and everyone thinks that their dad murdered her because she was cheating on him with the other co-owner. And there's just like so much involvement there. And I really liked this
I
book.
feel like this is a really twisted web already. It's
It,
like, how do you keep track of all of this?
and it's he does a really good job of like bringing you into it and like layering it on and reminding you of different things that are going on
Hmm.
and getting like really fresh. Like a lot of the feedback I've seen is like I wanted to murder Dante, and I was like, yeah, same. I also wanted to murder Dante because he makes this bad deal. His friend like screws him over, and then Roman spends the rest of the book like trying to save him, and Dante like would have gone to jail. And Dante's always just like, I don't like the way you're fixing my problem. And it's like, you can't fix your problem. What are you
Right.
talking about? Like, your brother might be very morally gray and making like hard decisions, but also you put him in this position. You could have turned yourself in. You
Hmm.
could
Hmm.
like, but he's trying to literally save your life. And you knew that you weren't amounting to very much, so you put yourself in a very dangerous situation. And it's very frustrating to read his character who
Sure.
like obviously has like substance abuse problems and things like that. But and then they have a sister who's just like, what's going on? And it's very frustrating because the brother's just like learned to tell her nothing. And she's just sitting there in danger. And it's a really interesting book. I really liked it. Um, it's very interesting to see like how, it kind of asks the question like, at what point are you enjoying the bad things you do, and at what point are you put into a position where you had no other choice? And I think that that
Hmm.
book really looks into that. Um,
I like the lens. Obviously, I'm biased, but I like that lens from rural America too, because
yeah,
I feel like that's often an overlooked area in media where it's like people don't consider like that. Yeah, there's like tons of people who are dealing with a lot of like economic issues and
hmm,
like lack of access to healthcare and jobs, and they turn to drugs or what
yes.
have you. So,
And that is definitely the people that they like prey upon in this book. You know,
hmm,
it's less about that because we're looking in this book specifically. There are other books that delve into that for S.A. Cosby, but like this book is a little bit more of the like wealthier side because you're
sure.
dealing with someone who helps make wealth.
Hmm.
But it does get to certain points of like how people often look down on people in rural communities. There's a
Yeah.
situation where Roman really thinks he's coming into a negotiation like very headstrong and very like, I can do this. I know how people work, and he forgets that like he works in Atlanta with like these people who are gangsters, like quote unquote, because they're like rappers, but a lot of them haven't actually been in any dangerous situation. And he quickly learns he's in over his head because he underestimates these two men because
Hmm.
he didn't expect them to be threats, and he expected them to be like city people who can kind of
Yeah.
put on certain affects. And these guys like came to play and he just wasn't expecting it. And so I do think it
Hmm.
also looks at how we look at rural communities, or it's very
Misconceptions
interesting to,
and
yeah, the
stereotypes.
misconceptions. So it's very interesting, highly recommend. I really like S.A. Cosby's books. I think they're kind of like just fun
Hmm.
thrillers that are interesting, that like still have all the stakes in them
And you
that you
listen to
want to
these?
see. So I listened to two of them. I think I
Okay.
read one of them, and the audiobooks are really good. But I also enjoy reading them because they are just fast-paced thrillers
I was
that you
just
kind of want
curious
to
if
get
it was a
involved.
thriller that I would be able to absorb on audio a little
You
more
can
easily.
absorb it. I think, yeah, I got it really fast when I put it on Libby. I was a little bit shocked
Hmm.
because this book is pretty popular. And it came through, like I put it on hold and a couple days later I had it. So I don't know if they
Oh,
just got more copies, but I got very lucky and was able to get this right away. So highly recommend go listen to it or read it. Um, and then for watching, like I said, I've been watching The Umbrella Academy. I'm on season 3. Um,
I watched all of season 4 because we have an upcoming TV Tuesday on this, and it's not going to be happening for a while. But Hannah, I have so many thoughts on season 4.
I know. I think we just need to record it once I finish so that it's fresh in our minds. But I
Yeah,
will say I had a lot of thoughts on season 3, and rewatching it, it wasn't as bad as I remembered it. Like there are certain things that I saw flaws in it, but upon rewatch, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was when I originally watched
I
it.
feel like
But
now watching season 4, I'm like, I was far too hard on season 3, and I don't even think I was that hard on it.
yeah,
Where I was pretty forgiving of season 3.
I really enjoy my rewatch of season 3. I think there's a certain moment in season 3 where I'm like, I feel like you guys should have taken it a different way, but I understand
Mm.
from like you only get 10 episodes, there's only so much time to tell a story, that
I think
certain
that's my
parts
big
felt
problem
rushed.
with season 4 is that I'm like, they needed so much more time to wrap this up, and things
Right.
feel so rushed, and they just honestly, I'm like, was this the right direction to go with some of these things? I don't know.
I don't know.
The acting is great, but as always, like these actors are always gonna knock it out of the park, but it's still just like some of the episodes and decisions made with the plot. I'm like,
I
wild choices.
I know one like big spoiler, and that one
Don't
is a
say it.
little wild to me, but like you know which one I'm talking about,
Yes.
I'm sure. So, um, yeah, it's just it's wild. Yeah, I don't know. I have thoughts. We'll talk about it soon. You'll hear about it on an upcoming TV Tuesday.
Yeah.
Um, but
Odd choices.
odd choices. I also recently, so a podcast I listened to called Blank Check with Griffin and David, they like cover, they're kind of like this. They cover, um, directors specifically. They watch like all the like movies in a director's oeuvre, and they're
Hmm.
recently doing the Coen brothers. And
Okay.
I decided like I've always wanted to watch all the Coen brothers movies because a lot of people love them. And I've like ancillarily watched like The Big Lebowski is usually the big
I
one
really
from
like The
our
Big Lebowski.
so like yeah, the Big Lebowski, and I've seen Raising Arizona and Fargo, which are all Coen Brothers movies, and I kind of like was like, oh, I want to watch these. And so this weekend we watched Oh Brother, Where Art Thou for the
I
first
love that one.
time. It's so good.
You've
I really
you'd
feel
never
like
watched it before?
I'd never seen it before. I had seen the
Oh my
end.
gosh.
So this is one that my dad loved growing up, and even when I started watching it, I texted him. I'm like, Paul and I are watching Oh Brother, Where Art Thou for the first time, and he was like, "Great movie,"
It is
because
great.
it was one that was on TV a lot growing up,
That's how
where
I
like
watched it.
yeah, and I would always catch like the tail end of it, but it was one of my dad's favorites. Like he had the Oh Brother, Where Art Thou soundtrack, and he listened to it on repeat. My dad was
Good
obsessed with that
soundtrack.
movie. But I never actually like sat down and watched the entire thing. I knew what it was about. I knew like all the play by play, but just hadn't seen it. So I watched it. It's a great movie. I really like the Coens humor. It's very like absurdist. And so I've been interested in like watching along as they cover all the movies so that I can watch all the ones I haven't seen for the first time.
Hmm.
Um, so we watched Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Great movie. And then I watched their like 1984 film that only one of them directed. The other one like helped write it, called Blood Simple. It's just a 90
Never heard
minute
of that one.
thriller. Very straightforward, very much like what if something went wrong and there were so many miscommunications it was ridiculous because by the end of the
Okay.
movie you realize something and you're just like, oh my gosh. Like, so the entire premise is this woman is like cheating on her husband with one of his bartenders at his bar. He's like a bad guy. She goes to leave him. He hires someone to murder them, and the guy like rips him off and tries to shoot him. And then her lover comes on the scene and thinks she did it. Like, and this is just like set up,
Okay.
but like it's all about miscommunications where everyone doesn't know what the hell is going on. And it's very strange. There are so many parts where you're just yelling at the TV because you're like, Frances McDormand, what is going on with you right now? Like, come on. Um, and it has a lot of just variation there. So good movie. It was weird to go back to like 1980s and kind of see a
Sure.
thriller like this because it kind of makes you think about like it's a quick 90-minute thriller. I don't think we make these anymore. Like that
No.
just has that kind of quick
I don't think
tension. You're
anyone
in and
makes
out.
90-minute movies really
I
anymore.
know, but
Movies are so long.
it was so quick. It was so in and out and it was so interesting. So like it was just kind of disappointing to be like, that's sad, you know? And then I watched The Fugitive for the first time, starring Harrison Ford. And in keeping with Hannah's personality, fell asleep during it because it was a little too late. But
Maybe
I
you
did
just
actually
are
go back
not
and
for
finish
Harrison
it.
Ford movies.
My brain doesn't compute
You
Harrison
see
Ford
him and you're just
movies.
like, I'm asleep.
I don't know why. Well, I do know why. We started a 2 hour thriller at 9:30 at night. That is why I fell asleep. But I thought again, we just watched Joe Brother Where Art Thou. The next day I watched a 90-minute movie. It's one of those where it's like, oh yeah, let's watch The Fugitive. How long could it be? And I didn't realize it
Long,
was 2 hours long. And it was just like,
long.
what's happening? Because like for the first half of the movie, he's just trying to escape. And then the second half of the movie, he gets into like, who murdered my wife? And I was like,
Hmm.
I feel like we could have had some things running concurrently though. But no, it is very much established he is a fugitive and then he has to find out who murdered his wife. So, but it was a good
Two
movie. It was
acts.
just really long. Um, but my sister-in-law and I were discussing like usually double feature night, like you're you're just watching, and when it comes to thrillers we both never expect the other one's thriller to be as long as it was. So she was like, we have been watching Gone Girl for 700 years. And I was like, we have been watching The Fugitive for 700 years. Like it was just very
I've never
much
seen The
that
Fugitive,
energy.
but I feel like I really enjoyed Gone Girl, so
Yeah, it's a
I was
good
like,
movie. I thought
did
The
that
Fugitive
seem
was
really long? Oops.
I think it's just like you never expect thrillers to be that long where there's just so much going on. And they do have a lot going on because they're more like prestige-y thrillers.
Sure.
So, um, yeah, The Fugitive was nice. I did finish it the next day. It wasn't like I had to watch it within 24 hours or else our rental was gonna
I'm
lapse.
not gonna lie, I've fallen asleep through so many Marvel movies that my husband will just finish, and then I'll just like watch them the next day. Like the
Yeah.
part that I last remember, I'll rewind to that and
Yeah, that's what
finish it the
happened.
next day. So
Yeah, exactly. So there's just so much going on. And then we started New Zealand Taskmaster, which is just a
oh,
show
okay.
where I watch and then I repeat words that they said that were funny to me, like advertisements.
Advertisement. Because they
Um,
also have like kind of a UK British accents, correct?
they
In
do,
New
but like
Zealand.
it's like a little bit more sing-songy in some of them, like New Zealand. Like it just has like so they'll be like, watch some
So a
of
little
the
bit of an Aussie accent.
advertisements, and it's just like yeah, it's like kind of an Aussie English, and so it's very funny. It's very jarring to go from like British Taskmaster to New Zealand Taskmaster because they're like a little bit more dry. I feel like there's not as much
Okay.
like laughing and things like that, which is weird to
Hmm.
say about British humor, but it is weird to like see it all kind of get a new start.
British humor
Uh
is different though than
yeah,
American humor
but
for
I
sure.
love British humor, so like I feel like that kind of goes into it. So I don't know, but we're watching that. We'll see how it goes. We're only 2 episodes in. I already love one of the characters. She's very funny, uh, and very ridiculous. There was like one moment where she did something and she goes, "I thought I was doing." They were like, "What happened?" And she goes, "I." I thought I was doing well after the pandemic because it like
Oh.
originally aired in 2021. But she's very funny. So, yeah. But shall we dive
Can I
in?
mention one more
Oh,
thing that I
please
read that
do.
I enjoyed? So everyone should go check it out on Reactor, but it's a short story that Martha Wells just released called
Mm.
Rapport, Friendship, Solidarity, Communion, Empathy, and it follows Art's crew after Art
Oh.
and Murderbot met. And what a sweet little gem of a short story.
Oh, I'll have
Everyone,
to go
please
look
go
it
read it,
up.
especially art lovers. Go read Rapport. Like,
And if you don't love art,
chef's
read the
kiss.
books again because you're wrong.
Yeah, you're wrong.
So,
Go read America's Sweetheart art stories. I
no,
feel like I just love all of the Murderbot Diaries so much. And this was
oh
just,
yeah,
I haven't read them in so long. It was just like such a nice little nugget I just read it before bed one night and I was like, "Ah, I miss these so much.
I do miss
I
them.
need to dive into the show, but I've honestly been afraid because
I
I hold the
know.
books so dear. I've been nervous to jump in. But Rapport is available for free on Reactor. So everyone go check it out.
Perfect. Thank you for that recommendation. I didn't know that it existed, so I'm
Yes,
glad
go get
to
it.
learn. Well, shall we dive into bum the Year of the Dresden?
The Year of the Dresden.
So, I feel like an overarching theme of this book is
Die alone.
die alone is kind of
What the? That was such a mean thing to say to the person who is so concerned about dying alone and not having people in his life and loneliness. Like, oh my gosh.
that death curse really struck Laura in a very special
Here's the
place.
thing. I feel like throughout these books, the one thing that has like stood out to me is just Harry not being in a good space and like me being able to recognize that. And I just feel like he is very fragile, honestly. And for someone to yell, die alone at him, I was like, wow, brutal. Oh,
He is it is very sad that that was the death curse because it is the thing he fears most is like he does not have connections. He doesn't have Susan anymore.
this is
Karen
a big
has
turning point for him because like Karen's gone. A
hmm
lot of things have changed for him in this novel. Like he's living with his brother and like things feel different for him. So he's a kind of a creature of habit and things are not going according to his usual. So for someone to yell die alone after he's broken up with his girlfriend and like his new love interest Karen ugh is off losing her pants with someone else, like he's very concerned.
Yeah, it is interesting that that's kind of what's happening on the love front because I do think there's also the theme of finding familial connection
Hmm.
because he and Thomas are like actually trying to build a relationship as two different people who are coming in as full-grown adults, which I think is interesting to see like in a family, like where they have a lot of things that they don't know about the other person or they assume they know about the other person and they're learning that they're often wrong about their assumptions. So like you know, ugh, as we say, or eye roll as we say. But there are moments where Thomas will be like, "You're shy. You're really bad at this. You're really shitty with like girls." And Harry's like, "I have a date." And he's like, "You have a date? What are you talking about?" And of course, he has a date with a figment of his imagination.
Yeah.
But like, He doesn't,
He
I
has a date
think
with himself, which is the most hilarious thing.
he does have a date with himself, which we should all date ourselves, but not
Not
if
not
we're
not in
imagining
that way.
an eidetic memoried goblin, if as it were. But like,
A super hot woman that never forgets anything.
I that seems dangerous to me. But like, it is funny to have someone who kind of comments on that because I feel like a lot of people in these books when they're looking at Harry, Harry Dresden is the best. Harry Dresden can never fail. Harry Dresden has, he's the most interesting man in the world kind of energy. Where this
Hmm.
is the first person who gets to spend a lot of time with Harry that's not in a like
That's
workspace.
not immediately in love with him. Like, wow, this man is
Yeah.
incredibly awesome
And when he's
because I've
looking at
spent
him,
more than
he's
five
like,
minutes with him.
he's kind of like, wow, you're kind of like a regressed baby, aren't you? And Harry has like no comeback. And then
He's
Harry
incredibly
is
depressed.
literally a detective, but he'll be talking to Thomas, and Thomas will be like, I'm starving because I can't feed on people the way I need to anymore. And Harry's like, well, this is brand new information.
It's
So,
honestly also like I keep falling back on like Harry being so depressed, but it's kind of a unique look into like Harry being so depressed to the point where he's like not recognizing things about Thomas either. Like you pointing that out made me just think of it like, yeah, he's like at the point where he's like, things are going terrible, and Susan's gone, and
now Karen's gone,
Karen
and I guess I'm in love with her because she's now unattainable for me.
Karen is no longer an aunt, and and now I just realized that my brother has needs too. Wow.
Yeah, it is the first book where someone's like, I have needs too. Like both Karen and Thomas have to be like, I'm a fully realized person. I'm not just like an RPG character that you like put your
I
feelings
will say though,
into.
like it is a little bit relatable to me, and I feel like I often fall into this too with my own depression, where I like feel like I'm the only one going through a terrible time, and it really sucks right now. And no one can understand me, and someone yelled "Die alone" at me on the street, and now now I'm taking that completely to heart, and it's like other people have needs too. There's a lot of stuff going on right now. You are not the only one here.
Yeah, that is true. And I mean, his depression is more prevalent in this book than I think it ever has been before.
It's
Like,
growing, I think.
we've moved on from Harry being depressed in his car eating soup to like him actually having this moment where this woman literally is trying to tempt him, and she just becomes a supportive female person who is a
Yeah.
little hot and wants to make an emotional connection with him. And it's like, well, that's sad that like the most tempting
This is
thing to
what he,
him.
yeah, this is what he is imagining, and like his deepest desire is someone to make a connection with him emotionally. Like,
Yeah,
oh
it's
no,
rough. So that is a very
that hits
big
me right in the depression.
part of this is just Harry, and it's it makes sense because he is at his like darkest level where he's like, I can't even use my hand anymore. I no longer have these emotional connections. And I just feel like I'm this vessel for needing to figure things out.
Hmm.
And even my friend Billy is like, we're really worried about you.
Well, I will say that this book, Butcher does a great job in pointing out the importance of community within
Hmm.
this book, even if it's a little more subtle, where we have Billy, you're my best friend, the werewolf, who is like, hey, we're really worried about you. Like, you're talking to yourself and things are weird. To Polka Never Dies, uh, Butters, Waldo Butters,
Butters himself.
becoming a new BFF to Thomas, his brother. Like, we're starting to see the importance of having people in your life a little bit, and Harry having these connections outside of just a love interest. And I think that
Yes.
that's actually a good thing to add into the story, even if it's not like extremely like prevalent. It's there where it's
Right.
like we need to build a community, and Harry himself needed to have that community to kind of have some recognition of what was going on with him.
Which we also talk about like these are books that often the audience is men. And I
Hmm.
do think having a book where it's like community is the most important thing and not a romantic relationship is
Yeah.
great to see. Because, like, as a woman who didn't get married until her, like, she was 34 or 33, it it was really important to remember that like friendships were important to me, like in my 20s, where it's like, oh, because
Mhm.
so much points you to like you need to find that one romantic person instead of like you need to make sure you're a whole person so that when you find someone, you're ready to be with them and
I was
be a
actually like,
supportive partner.
I was listening to this NPR podcast, How to Be a Better Person, and it it really like rides the line of being self-help while saying it's not self-help.
Right.
But it there are some very good episodes, and one of them I thought was really interesting was kind of talking about this, like how we put so much into romantic relationships with our partners where we want our partner to be able to do all of these things for us, and it's just too much to ask of one person. That
Yes.
you it is important to have other relationships, no matter what context they exist in, whether you have that friend that you just go to book club with and you discuss your book club book with, or you have the friend that you work out with, or whatever, or you have your
Yeah.
friend that you podcast with, whatever it may be, that you have these external relationships because it's honestly just a lot of pressure to put on one person to fulfill all
Yes.
these different roles that we as people need because people need communities. So I thought that was really interesting. And I think it kind of plays into what we're talking about here, the importance of having different relationships.
Well, because if you think about it, like Harry is someone who hasn't really grown up in certain ways. Like he has been stunted in like the traumas that he has received because we started these books when again
He
he
was in love
was
with his stepsister. Like,
yeah. Well, when we started the books when he was 25 and now I think we're around 27, 28.
oh man,
But
that's it.
like yeah, but if you think about it like
We've been here so long.
I think I think that's probably where we're at is 27,
Okay.
28. Like and a lot's
Yikes.
happened to him in 3 years, but it's all like magical based and less about the actual personal,
Hmm.
which as I learned in Charmed was very hard to juggle your witchly duties with your personal life
Sure.
because you're so stuck in trying to help everyone that like he probably couldn't show up as a partner at this point because
Well, and
he
I
is
think
so
that's
stuck in him, and
kind of like
stuck
a
in what needs to
hero.
happen.
I think that is kind of like the fall of all heroes. You know what I mean? That they're
Yeah.
unable to balance being a hero with being a person and having their own wants and needs and interests too, that they feel this immense pressure to be there for everyone and be all the things for everyone, and they can't. And I
Yep.
think, Harry even just describing himself and the important role that he plays in Chicago and, keeping it safe is it's evident there. So
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And so I do like the theme of community in this, where we kind of see him taking a beat on love and also figuring out what love means to him. Like, I know you and I don't love the Murphy storyline at all. In
But
fact, you could say
I think
we're
maybe
opposed
he
to it,
does
but
realize like he wants an emotional connection with someone that he
yes.
can talk about work things and the
Hmm.
like with. So that's maybe Karen.
Yes. And people always talked about like coworkers who got married, and it's like, well, yeah, it's because you have common things to meet about when you first start dating. And it's someone who's there. Like you met
Yeah.
them, you know them. And I think we
Work
have,
friends are really undervalued, and it makes total sense that there's going to be lots of Jim and Pams that exist in the
yes,
world.
especially before online dating, like that is where
Yeah.
you met people was the workplace. So like,
Especially in the United States where work is so heavily
yes.
valued that you're at
Hmm.
work all the time and you don't have time to do other things. You're meeting people at work.
Exactly. So it makes sense, especially in 2005, that he met like
Absolutely.
Murphy and was like, yeah, I guess she's here. So
He
now I
met
have a
Susan through
crush.
work.
Yes, exactly. And also workplace crushes, underrated because as long as you're not like sexually harassing people, it's nice to have a crush on someone. So it makes sense that he's like, I don't really have time for people, but I met this person. And so now I have a crush on them. So, um, yeah, I think loneliness is a huge theme in this book, and finding the familial or the community relationships and letting those fulfill you is also deeply
Mhm.
important to Harry overall
I
and
think
deeply
Butcher
important in
also,
this book.
just really he does this at the beginning of all the chapters, and I mentioned liking this, how he gets, you know, contemplative uh, about things. And I think that he also likes to talk about death a lot and
Yeah.
the imminence of Harry's death. And I think there is that bit where Harry and maybe the reader too is always supposed to be a little bit on edge, thinking that something could happen to the hero and that he's not someone who's totally safe all the
Yeah.
time. And so I kind of like that too, that we're getting these glimpses into like, Harry has to think about death quite a bit, that he's reflecting on death a lot and what it means to him and what he wants people to think of him, and that's mentioned with like the grave and everything, even though like that was major eye roll. But it does give us a glimpse into like Harry as a person, like what he wants out of his life and what he wants people to think of him. And he wants people to think that he died trying to do his
Trying.
best.
Yeah. He died doing the right thing. And that is something where I think Harry has very much internalized what the White Council thought about him for the longest time was that he was this evil being because he didn't know any better because he was young and he was taken advantage of by Justin and
Hmm.
his fairy godmother. Literally, like two of the people in his life who were there to protect him and they didn't.
Hmm.
And I do think part of him, he's like, I try so hard to be good, but these people never trust me. And there are moments where that is very demoralizing for a person, where
Yeah.
you feel very isolated at people who think you are evil. And there's only so many times you can hear it before you start having those like
Hmm.
intrusive thoughts. And I do think Harry struggles with that, which is also why he is a little bit more vulnerable when he's talking to the head of the Merlins, right? Or am I getting my people mixed up? But like the head of, are they
The
called
council.
Merlins? The councils. Um, but the one who like, what's her name? The person who almost died. Her name starts with an F. Um, but he like has this vulnerable moment with her where he's like, well, Morgan did this to me. And she's like, well, if I, oh, Lucio. And she's like, well, if I had known that happened, I would have stopped it. And it's kind of a moment where he feels
Hmm.
like really heard. And he's like, well, if I had been treated like this, I may not have fought them for so long. And it does show that like mistreating or misjudging someone like can affect a person. I think we get to see that in
Yeah.
Harry the first time in this book really effectively.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think it's a really it's done pretty well, honestly.
Yeah.
And we do
So
have the return of Morgan, who I realize is just a deeply paranoid man, which is why I connect with him.
I do love your value of Morgan in these books because he's
I don't actually value this person very much. I he's kind of a throwaway character to me, but yeah, because I couldn't even remember, shockingly. But yeah, I do think we in Morgan get kind of this glimpse into Harry's mistreatment.
yeah. And he is someone who is highly sensitive and very much believes that like and I really liked
He
Harry's
believes in
moment.
the system. He very
Yeah.
much drinks the Kool-Aid and he trusts himself so much. I think Harry mentions it at one point, doesn't he? That he's like a cop that's just like been involved too long, that he's just,
He said he's a burnout cop and I
yeah,
really liked that comparison.
yes.
Because it also shows that like
He feels so justified in what he's doing.
which I think Butcher could very easily, and sometimes you and I had gripes with previous books where it's like, well, Harry's always doing the best and doing the right thing, but there wasn't a lot of like feeling sorry for other characters who were
Mhm.
just kind of bad. And Morgan in this book, I feel like gets a little bit of a redemption where Harry sees him as like, oh, he's a burned out cop, because it shows that like Morgan probably started in a good place, but by being so focused on doing the work and
Mhm.
doing it in a certain way, it can corrupt you if like
Right.
my dad always talks about it as like you can be um you can have a good set of morals or you could be righteous and you have to be careful because the second you get righteous, everything else fades away
You
towards
can
what
jeopardize
you
it.
think is good and then your righteousness can be very corrupted. And I think that
Hmm.
that is what Morgan did was he became a very righteous individual who's like, well, I'm doing right, and then he never had to question himself or look internally to say like, well, am I harming people by my own beliefs?
Hmm. Yeah, I think we do see like kind of that questioning of, I shouldn't say questioning. We do have kind of the moment where the morals are being questioned by readers.
Yes, very much so. So,
It is interesting too, though, to see some of this growth in Harry, where he's finally able, like you said, to look at Morgan and be like, "So this is what's going on." And I think for me personally, like within my own like mental illness journey, it's been kind of enlightening to like kind of put some of those types of thoughts together to know like, oh yeah, the reason people do this or that or say this thing or that thing is because of this. It wasn't actually because of this of about me.
yeah.
So I think that Harry's having those moments as well.
Yeah, I agree. No, that makes sense. I what did you think of the like Lachelle character and how she played a part in this book when like Harry's at his worst, but then she's trying to tempt him to like utilize her more?
It feels weird. It again does kind of like feel like that lack of consent situation that we've had before with some of Butcher's characters that I feel weird about. I don't really know if I like it. I liked being able to call that this was what was happening. That was
Yeah,
fun for me to
you got
finally
it.
guess something right, a plot point. But yeah, it does kind of feel similar to some of the lack of consent in terms of like the assistance that Harry gets. Like, why couldn't this have been something that the person asked of him? You know, like I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. You make a really good point that it feels non-consensual because like obviously she is trying to tempt him. She is trying to convince
Hmm.
him to
To have
utilize her
sexual relations and stuff like that too,
where he
honestly.
yeah, where he doesn't know who she actually is.
Hmm.
But that also can be seen as like if you are someone who has been like sexually abused, and Harry has been multiple
Hmm.
times in this book series so far,
Hmm.
it can sometimes not like through any fault of your own, but statistically you could have people continue to abuse you
Hmm.
because of certain things that like happen to you or certain situations that you are already in,
Yeah.
unfortunately. And I do think that that could be seen as like what's happening here, where
Yeah.
this person can see Harry's mind and she knows what's
Hmm.
happened to him. And she therefore is utilizing it to her advantage to take advantage of Harry.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. It feel it feels icky to talk about it a little bit, honestly, because it does have so many of those vibes.
Yeah, I think that that makes sense. It's hard. It's important to talk about from that perspective. I always hope
Hmm.
like Jim
What was the
Butcher did
perspective that
that.
you got?
I mean, I think you're I don't think I read as much into the like non-consent part. I think that that's an important one and I hope, you know, Butcher did that mindfully. I read more just kind of like being raised in a religious household who went to many, many years of Catholic school. It was very much like the literal fallen angel on your shoulder trying to corrupt someone and say like you'll need to utilize me sooner or later type thing.
Okay.
And I wasn't looking at it more from the Sheila perspective of things at all times, or the sexual nature of the Sheila encounters. I was more looking at like the discussions she had with him on the philosophical side of like at some
Okay.
point you're going to get yourself in over your head because he is a hero, so he does continue to jump into these dangerous situations and not
Hmm.
know how he's going to get out of them because he wants to protect people.
You know, I think
um
it's interesting that we have these different views of it because, like, I'm looking at this from the viewpoint of deception and non-consent, and you're looking at this from like the like philosophical viewpoint of like what were they talking about and what are the things that they're discussing in their psyche and all this stuff. And it's interesting because I was the one that from early on was like something's not right here, like this doesn't seem right.
yeah,
So I think that's interesting that we had these different takes on this situation just based on the way that we like came to the relationship.
that I think that is a very fair and very apt point because to me I was just like, oh, she's trying like this is the negotiation with the devil. This is how temptation works is like someone comes in and they're like, I could be useful to you, and it's like, well, I never
Hmm.
need that. And then as Harry got into the situation and it became increasingly aware for him, he became increasingly aware that he was in over his head. he ends up utilizing her at the end. And it is one of those moments where he's like, I should never have to use it again. But he also knows the danger and he does call out, like, well, once you use it once, you'll use it twice. And once you use it twice, you'll use it three times. And then he meets like Cassius and he sees what his future could be,
Hmm.
but he still ends up taking that chance
Hmm.
because he wants to save the world and he needs to save the world.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like that take too.
But I'm glad you brought up the icky parts of it because I think that that is also
Yeah,
important to discuss. So, um,
it's unfortunate, but I do think there's a lot of that kind of stuff that happens in the series.
yeah, I
So
don't.
I think it
I think it also highlights
sticks out to me.
how much people don't always see that, and myself included, where a lot of times people are ignorant to men being preyed upon,
Yeah.
and or they don't see it the same way because there's not
Hmm.
the physical power differential.
Sure.
But Harry is someone who does get put into a position where he can be overpowered in certain ways vis-a-vis
Hmm.
his godmother or Latial, like
Hmm.
tricking him or making him see what he wants to see,
Yeah.
um, which makes it non-consensual in the way
Right.
that she did it. So, what did you think about the Bob storyline?
So Bob actually like has a little more importance now.
Yeah,
So it's better to not just be a plot witch. I appreciated that. So
yeah,
I did think it was a little odd. Like, yeah, he was with a Nazi for a while. And that was a wild turn, but I guess I do think it's weird how Butcher wants to bring in like these different historical things like the Civil War or like things that don't necessarily seem super connected to what's happening, but whatever.
I think male writers have a weird fascination with like world history in their books
Hmm.
sometimes. And I don't,
It does
and
feel like
that's
that,
not,
like, you know what? I just recently read a book on the Civil War. I'd like to work that in.
yeah. And it was really weird to be like, we're in the Midwest. Confederate soldiers.
Yeah,
Like,
and it did feel
like
a
we're in
little bit,
Chicago. Like, what are
yeah,
you talking about?
it did feel a little bit like that with Bob's backstory, I guess, too, to me,
Yeah.
where it was like, I like that we're getting more depth here, that it's not just, like I said, some random character who is just there to like feed us information and serves no other purpose. Like I'm glad that there was more to Bob now versus like before it was just like this is a creep who just goes out of
Such a creep.
this the skull to do really creepy things and also just like tells the readers like so actually in 17 blah 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 where zombies did this or the red court did blah blah blah. So it's nice to have more background and
Yeah.
know about Bob. But it was weird that it was like, it's a weird Nazi. And Bob helped to create this book. And it was like, oh, okay. All right.
Giving him all the benefit of the doubt and also noting that like there are sometimes just weird world history
It's very
things.
Nazi coded. I shouldn't say Nazi. It's just very Nazi coded.
But like I do think it's interesting to discuss Bob from like he is a spirit that gets manifested for people and so like he can be easily corrupted if he's in the
Yeah,
wrong hands. So like with Harry, I don't know where the perviness comes from. Harry, I think you need to do some self-reflection because it seemed like Bob wasn't interested in perviness when he was with other people. So you need to
that's
self-reflect.
true.
But
Hmm.
he
What about
does,
Harry brings that out in him?
but he is a spirit, and I do think it's interesting that like Butcher is opening up the world through that
Yeah.
of like, well, Bob can be affected by who has him and what power is being put into him. He is going to have
Hmm.
that output. And I did like that because that was interesting from this character who was just a plot encyclopedia before
Yeah,
now. So
absolutely. Yeah,
yeah,
you're absolutely right that it does open the world up more.
yeah,
And going further, I think that that will help things make more sense in the series.
right. I did love the revelation you gave that this is the first one he did in hardback, so he got to take a little
Hmm.
bit more time because I do feel that on the page with this one that it
Yeah,
feels much more purposeful. It feels like we're going somewhere and it feels like the world is expanding instead of just saying like I can't think of anything else, let's put a vampire in it.
sure.
Like yeah.
Where it's like, have we had a vampire ball yet? Let's add that in.
Oh
Like,
my
no,
gosh.
not another one.
Mavra and Mab, and like we had all the characters, but they all felt like they had a reason to be there and they didn't
Mhm.
overstay their welcome. Like Mab came in
Exactly.
for a scene. We were gonna call forth another fairy later, so it
It
made sense he
kind of
called
seemed like a
her.
little bit
Like,
like Butcher did this novel justice by like including these characters to like kind of pay homage to them from
yes,
previous novels and to if someone was jumping into this book as the first read of the Dresden Files series, then they would have their introduction to them.
yes.
But it again, like you said, was not one where it's like, get out of here, Mavra. Like we hate you.
Stop jumping in at the random second, being like, "Where's my book, Harry?" Like she
Like,
comes in at the beginning,
get
she
out.
comes in at the end, and he says, "You're never doing this to get again to me. You never want to cross me." Like,
I'm like, good.
so yeah.
Leave.
So I do think no one overstayed their welcome, but it is a good scene setting to say you can jump into this book. You don't
Hmm.
need to read all the other books to know like
Yeah, yeah.
fairies exist. He has a fairy godmother. We don't have to
Hmm.
see her. Like,
I will say though, like it'd be interesting to jump in on this one as your first book because I do think there's context here. Like even just like our discussion that we're having, like there are things that I think are important to understanding where Harry is at. That even though I feel like you have to suffer through a couple of bad books, it's important to have that background info.
yeah, that is an interesting question of like when would we recommend reading the first five books to get or six books to get to this one?
I recommend people just read them in order. Like you have to do it. Summer Night's good.
Summer Nights is good. I kind of wonder if you could start with this one and then read the other ones as like preambles,
To
like
like get that if you read this one started with it and you're like I really like this series and then you jump back in to those to be like okay
more
this is
like
what I was missing.
yeah, more like prequels. Because, sometimes I'll do that with like different series. Well, or I always read like the second romance one in a series without knowing that I did, just because reasons. That's the one I find in a
Mhm.
bookstore. But then you get to read the first one. You're like, oh, those are who those people are. That's what's going on. Like, I think you could do that potentially, but I do think you should read them all. I just wonder if you
I
could always jump
hate doing
into
that
this
honestly,
one.
like I it almost like makes me cringe a little bit to jump in without having read the earlier books, like I don't know.
You and I are very different
Like
people.
I don't like doing that with romance books either. Like if I know that if I do it unknowingly it's one thing, but if I know, it almost bothers me where I'm like I gotta read the first book.
That's so funny. I never have that problem. So,
Yeah.
um,
I don't feel like I'm anal about many things, but that's one of them where I'm like,
well, you
I
and
need
I
to
are
read
also
them in
two
order.
different types of readers. So I think it's like if you find yourself more as a Hannah reader, you could read it like this. If you're more of
Hmm.
a Laura reader, you would read it like this. Because I do think that there are obviously different ways to do it. Um, but I wouldn't mind starting with this one and then going back through and seeing. But you're right, some of the history, there is so much that's just mentioned on the
Yeah.
page that I think you could get annoyed with of like, who the fuck is Susan?
Yeah.
Like, what do
We
you
do not care
mean?
about this vampire
Like,
woman.
yeah, why is she here? What do you mean you thought you burned her alive and you were wrong? That was such a funny non sequitur of like, I thought I burned her alive, but did I? And then all of a sudden it's like, I didn't. It's like,
No.
okay, I guess.
Yeah,
Um,
that's why I think like there is stuff in here that I think if I personally jumped into it, and this is also just my brain, I need to have as much information as possible because even
mm,
we're on the seventh book, there are times where I'm like, wait, what? What does that mean? Who was that? Did we know? So I think the more information I have to help me understand what's going on, the better. So I think that I would still be like, yeah, you got to start with one.
that's fair. I think that that's a fair assessment. You're not wrong. Any other final items? Marconi's back. I don't really care about that man.
Karen and Harry are happening, I guess, at some point. It hasn't happened
No.
yet, so we're still in the clear, but next book is still up in the air.
I I don't know. I don't
She's back from vacay, and her, you know what?
and
We do need to mention how there were so many people that were like really appreciative of all the things that Karen's father had done
yeah,
and
why
not
not?
Karen. What was with that? Why couldn't Karen have done good things for Chicago that people were appreciative of? Because we know we had been told many times earlier how Karen had done so many great things, how she was the reason Chicago was safe and everything. So why was it all of a sudden that it was her dad doing all these
I'm
nice
gonna
things that
blame
people
that
were
one.
willing to do favors for?
I'm honestly gonna blame that one on the patriarchy in this book. Like it is written in
Yes.
2005, and honestly, like let Murph be the most important person in the group. Let her be the most important Murphy. Why do we need the dad? That was that was
It
like
was
a very it was a very
frustrating.
silly choice for me.
Yes.
Like
It was
yeah.
just dumb. I didn't like
Yeah.
it. It was really frustrating to read, and also just like you take that out, it doesn't change anything.
No.
It's not like it adds anything. It doesn't change the story at all. It was just, and maybe there's going to be an addition of Murphy's father as a major character in the books going forward. I doubt it, but it seems weird
Well,
that
it
it
is.
was like that.
I know in previous books they've been like everyone thinks Murph is insane. Like Harry is the one who sees her value, but because she is part of this monster task force, no one else has value for her. So I guess that's the answer, but I still find it like a little bit weak because she is
It just
still,
seems like major sexism. So
yeah, and I mean maybe
even
that's
like
the
the
world
treatment
that
that
they're
she has
living
within the
in.
force seems like
Yeah.
major sexism, but it just kind of sucks that when he's dealing with these situations of people who he's getting favors from to help him with a fantastical being situation, they're doing favors because of Murphy's dad. And it's like, how about we change that? And they're doing favors because of Murphy.
I
I
know.
don't
I
know.
do think it would have been a stronger novel, but I do
Yes,
wonder if it's because
I'm sure you're
of
right.
the, yeah, like we're supposed to think, well, no one believes in this
I'm sure
stuff
you're right. It just doesn't
because
make me feel better.
no, it doesn't. And there are so many, I'm so sorry. Like there are other TVs. I'm gonna mention it because Charmed is just giving me this energy because it was
Mm.
coming out at the same time. But like Charmed had a police officer who was heavily involved, and he was still like a decorated detective even though he worked on the weird crimes. Like people still
Yeah.
respected him. So you can
It's not
do it.
impossible.
Yeah, it's not. So I I do think that that was kind of a weak choice.
Yeah,
So
annoying.
yeah, you're not wrong. You're in fact correct, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I just remember that. I was like, we need to talk about it because that was annoying.
I honestly have no idea what's going to happen in the next book because we never
What's the
do.
next book's name?
So the next book we are covering, I literally looked this up at the library yesterday.
Is it Proven Guilty? Is that the next one?
Um, I don't think so. Not from what I can remember. Oh no, it is proven guilty.
It
You
is
are
Proven Guilty? Okay.
correct. Yeah. Um,
These
so
all
you
have
guys,
kind of bangers of names. I really
he
like
has
the
some really
names.
good, he has really good chapter name or book names. It is
Yeah.
fun.
Titles are great.
Um, so next week, please join us as we talk to Jordan Ifueko about The Maid and the Crocodile, as it is said in the audiobook. We talked
And we
to
talk about her Raybearer
yes, and we
books
talked about
too.
the Ray Barrier books as well, but she came on. She was so nice to come join us and let us interview her on the pod. So please listen to
She was
that.
great.
And then we will be covering the first third of Proven Guilty by Jim Butcher the week after. So,
Yeah.
uh,
And be sure to check us out on Discord. We'd really like to get like more people active over there chatting about things. I feel like both Hannah and I occasionally will like talk on there and then we're just like talking to ourselves. So we stop because we're like, we can not talk on Discord. So we'll just text.
we talk
But
in real life, so
yeah,
it is
we
hard.
love to have discussions with new friends about like things that you're reading, watching, and or enjoying, and or even just like other stuff. Like you want to just
We
talk
want to
about
talk
like
Butcher.
if
Like,
you had some like cool factoid about something we've talked about, or even something that you've watched or read, like we'd love to hear it. Like
yeah.
bring it there.
So please join us over there. You can also follow us on all the social media platforms in which we exist, mostly on Instagram and Blue Sky at OWWR Pod. And if you would be so kind, please rate, review, and subscribe. We'd really
Yeah.
love to get some more ratings up there or tell a friend to listen because that's a
Yeah, the
great way.
sharing really helps.
Yeah, it does. And thank you to the person who downloaded pretty much every single episode on Friday for
Wow.
us. So
Thank you.
we appreciate it. So we love getting
Yeah,
those
and thanks so much for listening
downloads.
today.
Yeah, thank you so much. And join us next week as we discuss Jordan Ifueko's work. Sorry, works. Bye.
Bye.